Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators with award-winning business strategist and financial analyst, LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group. With Raw Talk, we are empowering women to rise and succeed in business and finances, and improve the world for the next generation. Get ready to get raw and real. Live each Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I am LaWanna Bradford, also known as the connector with the Bradford Group and the Bradford Group Consulting, where we help you to intersect your visions with opportunities and strategies for success, as well as connect you to the financial resources that you need to expand your portfolio. And for those of you who are joining us on E360 TV, thank you for following us. And I am so excited because we have a special guest in the house. Mr. Christopher Salem has taken the time to join us again on this stage. And for those of you that know a little bit about me, you know, I love all things business, all things finance. I like to shake things up a little bit by challenging us to step out of the box and be more expansive in not only how we think about business and finances, but how we apply those lessons learned in order to expand our impact, our influence, and our income. And before I bring Christopher on the stage, I want to give a salute to my company, which happens to be the sponsor of tonight's episode, the Bradford Group. Welcome, Chris. How's it going?
It's doing great, LaWanna. Great to be here again.
I'm so glad that you were able to take time out of your busy schedule. I know you've been rocking and rolling, jet setting, both for personal and business, but I'm just so happy that our paths intersected because my life and my business is that much richer because of you. So hats off to you.
So grateful for your kind words, and it is a pleasure to be here and honor again on your show.
Well, I want to tell the audience a little bit about you. Not only are you a serial entrepreneur, but you're an executive coach, you're a trainer, you're a mentor. You work with both big business as well as entrepreneurs and business owners to help them better understand their brand, elevate that, raise awareness so that they can have the influence that they want. In addition, you are an author. You have recently, I want to make sure I get your book right, co-authored a book called Mastering, I know I was going to butcher it. Mastering the Art of Success?
Mastering the Art of Success, yeah, with Jack Canfield. That book came out a few years ago, but yes, I did contribute to that book, which was part of a series that Jack Canfield had put out.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you're the host of your own radio show, Sustainable Success, and you're a certified mindset expert, media personality, and all things amazing and wonderful.
Thank you. Yes. And I've actually added another radio show just recently, by the way, Business Influencers on Tel Radio.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, today we are going to talk about your business with mindset, preparation, and measures for success. So how to grow your business with those three areas. And to our listening audience, we know that as business owners, as entrepreneurs, the one thing that's most important beyond knowing what you're going to do, who you're marketing it for, is that bottom line. And I find, Chris, and I wonder just what your experience is, that we focus on what we want to do, who we want to do it for. But especially the small business owners, we tend not to really take time to map out what success will look like in those measures along the way. But I like that you've created this kind of triangular recipe here about mindset first, preparation, and then measures. So I want to turn it over to you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, like with anything, if anytime you're going to have something that's going to be sustainable over time, doesn't mean that it's always going to be great, but that you are moving forward, you're making progress. And hopefully, when it's time to either exit the business, sell, retire, whatever the case may be, you're going to be looking to get top dollar for all that experience and all that hard work you put into that business. But the reality is most small business owners walk away with nothing. They just leave money on the table because they didn't take the necessary steps to really look at this three sided thing, in terms of how to grow your business and then exit at full valuation. So just like with anything, LaWanna, anything that's going to be standing tall or that's going to sustain itself over time has to have legs to stand on. So even if you had a beautiful home, that beautiful home has to sit on a rock solid foundation. Otherwise, it's going to have problems or it's going to come crumbling down. If you build a beautiful home on quicksand, well, guess where that house is going? It's going right down into that hole where the quicksand kind of circles around down where it sucks things into it. So what I'm going to talk about today is how business owners, whether if you're just starting out somewhere in between or you've been in business for a while and you've had success, it's never too late to establish a foundation. And a foundation in terms of business starts with how you think. And so not only how you think as the business owner or the CEO of your business, but also the people that are working for you, you work with, how you can impact them through your example and resourcefulness to do the same. See, the secret is that when people are thinking in a different way, from a growth mindset rather than the fixed mindset, we're not operating from fear in the past and the future. You're operating in the moment. And by doing that, you have more clarity. When you have more clarity, you have more focus. You have less stress. And when you have less stress, because of that focus, you have the ability to take calculated risks, learn from mistakes, take chances, make swift decisions, and follow through with the massive action. You also have
Chris, can you just put a pin right there for a second? Because you said something, and just in case people are a little confused with the terminology, can you explain to our viewers the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset?
Sure. So a fixed mindset is typically what 99% of the world operates from. Your subconscious level of mind dictates everything that you do, from your habits, behaviors, communication, your attitude, to your emotions, to whatever action that you take. You don't even realize that's going on behind the scenes. Now, when you're operating from a fixed mindset, you're operating from the past and the future, meaning that when a situation triggers something, you get this level of fear. And when you have that fear, your mind subconsciously is going into the past, attaching it to a past experience or something even way back in your childhood from a limiting belief or beliefs. That gets projected into the future and then tells you, your future self, that this is not going to work. Who do you think you are? I'm an imposter. If they only knew that I don't know as much as they think I do, that type of stuff. And it's that very thing that lowers our confidence, our self-esteem. It impacts how we communicate. So we're not communicating in a very specific, clear, and concise way to ourselves or others. We're operating, in this case, very passively or very aggressively, or both. Passive meaning that we go out of our way to please and enable others. That's a form of codependent communication because we're seeking validation from someone. That is a limiting belief. If it's aggressive, we place high expectations onto others, including ourselves. And when they go unfulfilled, we get upset at ourselves and other people because we're caught up in the control we can't control. So a fixed mindset operates in the past and the future. It's tied to expectations to outcomes. And it's always operating where it's trying to focus on the things it can't control. We can't control the economy. We can't control what's going on in your industry. We can't control the weather, COVID. We can't control inflation. But as people, we get caught up in those very things that we have no control over, instead of focusing on what we can control, which I'm going to explain what we can shortly. A growth mindset operates in the moment, not in the past and the future, where fear is reduced. So when a situation triggers that fear, from a growth mindset, we can reduce that level of anxiety and from the fear by being in the moment. We're shifting away from expectations tied to outcomes to intentions, where we focus only on what we can control in the moment and letting go of everything else that's beyond our control and letting the results be a byproduct of that. So it's a shift in thinking that clearly will get you in a different path in order to solve problems, create solutions, become more innovative, and engage at a higher level with your staff or people that work with you or work for you. And you're making massive strides in the things that you can control. So here are the 5 things that we can control every day as people. We can control our communication to ourselves and others. So instead of communicating from a place of being passive, where we please and enable and say yes to everything, for the exchange of feeling validated, we're shifting away from that codependency to interdependency, where we're not going to be operating from a passive level. We're going to be operating from an assertive level. Assertive means that we're going to be very specific, clear, and concise to ourselves. We are speaking that we understand our role and duties and are accountable in every situation. We understand our strengths and weaknesses. We know our past is a way that we can gauge things, but because it's in the past, it doesn't exist. We don't have to operate from that anymore. So when we can learn to do that, we can shift from being passive to being assertive, from based on assumption and speculation, which most people communicate in, versus being very specific, clear, and concise. It's also the same if we're aggressive, where we have high expectations of others and yourself. When they go unfulfilled, we get upset, we get angry, we react to it. We can shift away from those codependent styles of communication to being interdependent, which is assertive. Number 2 is our behavior. We can control that. We can control our behavior. And when we control our behavior, it's the same thing, passive, aggressive, or both, or assertive. So it's learning to be more assertive with our behavior. We're consistent for the most part in terms of our behavior, being more calm, being more valuable rather than available, where we empower people through our example and through our resourcefulness. We're not just doing, pleasing, and enabling, and so on. We also can control our attitude. Things are happening for you, not to you. Challenges, setbacks, obstacles are all necessary in order to become, and do things different to have better results. We can't grow or scale without going through a challenge to learn and grow from it. So we see it happening for us, not to us, which the fixed mindset sees it as it's happening to me. I'm the victim. It's an excuse. I can't do this because that person hasn't done what they're supposed to do. We can control our emotions. So what that means is if something triggers something that would normally trigger maybe frustration, disappointment, anger, shame, guilt, that's okay. That's normal to feel something like that initially. However, we do have the power and control to shift from the primary emotion to a secondary emotion, to choose a positive emotion to respond to it. So instead of reacting to it through the primary emotion out of anger, we can take just a deep breath. What can I control in this moment? What can I not control? Is this a good time for me to respond to this situation? If it is, I'm going to respond and choose a better emotion, a positive emotion, so I can have more clarity, to be more focused, to make better decisions, and then to find a solution to this challenge, instead of reacting to it and just pouring more gas on the fire and making it worse than it really is. We have control over that. Not the primary emotion, but the secondary emotion thereafter. We can control our level of action. So we can control that. So if we focus on those 5 things every day from intention rather than expectation, we can move forward and let the results be a byproduct of that, letting go of what we can't control. And what we can control are not only the stuff I mentioned earlier about COVID, inflation, taxes, and all of the above. It's also those same 5 things in other people. But as people, we get caught up. Oh, this person didn't get back to me. They didn't respond to my email. Their attitude is wearing me down. Why are they reacting to this situation? And you get caught up in it. You get caught up in their behavior. You get caught up in them being very vague with their communication instead of clarifying, what do you mean by that? Do you mean you have to have this task done by 10 o'clock? So no matter if you're the sender or receiver, you can be very specific, clear, and concise. That could save a lot of grief and headache on the back end. When we can master that way of thinking, we can be it on a consistent basis to become it. And that builds the first layer of our foundation for that. So the second layer of the foundation.
Hold on. I want to just unpackage this a little bit more. So we're starting first with all of this is with the mindset, and it's really
Yes.
how we choose to show up and to respond to life around us,
Yes.
and from how we communicate, verbal, nonverbal, our behavior, attitude, emotions, and you said the actions that we take. And basically, what you're saying in a very nice way is we need to show up and be accountable.
We got to be accountable.
Right.
And that's even as a child. Children are not taught to be accountable. They have to learn it later. And that's where codependency thrives because there's no accountability. Somebody will pick it up for me. Somebody will do it for me. Somebody will help fix me. Somebody will solve my problem. The reality is there's no such thing. There is no product or service that will solve your problem. A surgeon can remove a tumor, and you could say, well, that without that surgeon, I wouldn't be here today. Yes, that surgeon played an important role in removing your tumor, but it wasn't just the surgeon. You played a role too because you had to do your part to be mentally prepared, emotionally prepared. Maybe you had to change your lifestyle. So it's a two-way street, but it's learning to focus on only what you can control, letting go of what you can't. We're, as people, we're so caught up in the fear-based thinking of things we can't control, like the other shoe is going to fall at some point. That's how we're thinking when it hasn't actually happened. We're not thinking about what's happening right now. That's where the magic
Yeah.
is.
And I like what you're saying because when we're in the fear base, we tend to be pointing our fingers at
Yeah.
other people, right?
Yes.
But when we are really focused and intentional on the now, because that's where life is happening, not
Yes.
the past, not the future, it's moment by
Happening right now.
moment, then the stressors aren't as big as we think they are because it becomes fear based, right? What if this happens?
Yes.
Well, it hasn't happened yet. So what are you going to do right now?
So that LaWanna is the first layer, the underlying layer of the foundation that we talked about in this case. The second layer is what we call core values. Everybody has values, whether if you know them or not, you have values. Now, the question is, are you operating from those core values or somebody else's? You'd be shocked that a lot of people operate from other people's values. I operated from my father's from the first 30 years of my life. Why? Because I was seeking his validation because I didn't get it growing up from him. That was my limiting belief, and I was codependent. I was passive and aggressive, and it reflected in my communication, my behavior, my attitude, my emotions, and my course of action. I was always pointing the finger at everyone else. It was somebody else's fault. Nobody could do it better than me. So with that being said, I got in my own way countless times over and over, and I would start strong, build businesses, and then sabotage it because of those 5 things I was trying to control in other people and not focusing on what I can control. So when we can identify what those values are in you, for me, that's transparency, honesty, and integrity. Does that mean everybody I get in contact with is going to have the same core values? No, but we can have shared values. These can be values that we can connect with other people. So if somebody values trustworthiness, family-based values, they're ethical. We could find a way to connect on 1 or 2 of those values, even though we don't have the same values verbatim. When we can learn to connect on a shared value or values as people, subconsciously it's energy. It allows us to be better listeners. We are more assertive in our communication, either as the sender or the receiver. And when we build rapport with people to get to what's really important to them, it gains that level of trust. And when people feel like that you understand what's really important to them, you can relate and understand them, they're more likely to open up. They may be more likely now to be open to enroll in your business. You don't even have to sell anybody or persuade or convince anybody. They're going to enroll with you or refer you or trust you at some point to work with you on some level. I've tested it over and over. Does it happen like instantaneously? No, it's a process. But when we can connect as people on those shared values, core values, as a business, as a team, as an individual, and this could be in your personal life, that foundation of the mindset, growth mindset, and the shared values solidifies the foundation that we can now start to put things into action in our business. And that next step is what we call the preparation. And if you like, I'll be happy to talk about that.
No, I like what you were saying about the shared values because rather it has us focus on Where are we similar, right? Where's the common ground rather than magnifying where we're different?
It's not who's right or wrong, who came up with the idea. It's not. Matter of fact, you don't even have to be friends with somebody. You don't even have to even like them, but yet you can get along and solve challenges, create solutions by finding a way to communicate based upon similar or shared value or values. It's about what's best for the situation. Regardless, if I came up with the idea, or LaWanna, you came up with the idea, or somebody else, it's what's best for that situation. And it's learning to let go of the judgment that comes from human beings. We tend to judge situations, people, and so on. So we have to learn to rewire our thinking not to do that. So this way we can operate from those values that do what's best for the situation, for your business to move forward.
I have a question for you because you mentioned that for years you had been operating with under your father's values, and we all have, that was our primary socialization.
Yeah.
But at what point did you realize that some of those values were not serving you to your best interest as to where your path was taking you?
I mean, I had been experiencing it pretty much throughout my start of my career up until I was age 30. I was miserable. I was constantly angry. I was frustrated. I would yell at people. I struggled with 12 years of addiction to escape the anger, and I didn't know why, because at the time I didn't know any of this stuff. But for me, the turning point that got me, down this path of where I've been studying and practicing for the last 24 years is my dad died of lung cancer at the age of 56. And I'm a firm believer, even though my dad hadn't smoked in 29 years prior to his death, his cancer was just a physical manifestation of his own limiting beliefs that were suppressed, that he just didn't address. And my father was operating from not his own core values that he thought, and he was miserable, but yet didn't disclose that, didn't really display it. He bottled it in, and that just again turned inward into his body, into cancer. That's just how I look at it. But that was the turning point for me, and I had to find another way. That was the day that I decided I had to step up and be accountable, because the message my dad gave me, without even verbally saying this to me, because he was communicating in a different way, which I can't explain to this day, that, hey, I've always loved you and your brother and your mother. I know I didn't show it and I didn't display it in a way that you were looking for. I only did the best I could. See, as people, we do the best we can. We only do what we know. And if you were mistreated or things happen to you, you're just repeating those same patterns from limiting beliefs onto your own children. And then you pass that on from generation to generation. I made a pact that I was going to break that cycle, not only help people succeed in business by changing the way we think and then operating from core values, but how parents can do this in the home so they can help their children grow up into self-confident adults to be future leaders in their homes, to break that cycle of codependency, be future leaders in their communities and their businesses, whether if they work for somebody or they have their own business. So this can be applied to anything in life and business. And that's something I dedicated my life and my career to for the last 20 plus years. So these are the things that, again, where I left off, are the foundation. Something now we got legs to stand on. Now we got to, in order to put things into motion and to execute, to fulfill those intentions, to fulfill those primary targets or objectives, whatever is important to you in your business or even your personal life, your wellness, your relationships, your business, whatever is most important, you got to be prepared. You have to have a plan. And I'll be happy to share what that plan looks like.
Yes, definitely. All ears.
So the plan is that we have to be very specific, clear, and concise. Now, whether if you believe in the universe or not, I'm not here to convince you otherwise. It's energy. Now, the more vague we are, we're going to be that the universe doesn't understand. It's just going to understand what you said. I want to make $1 million. Well, what does that mean? I want to make $1 million. Okay, well, that's exactly what you're going to get. I want, and you'll be wanting for the rest of your life. Think about that word, want. Want is a word, an action word that says, I want something, but I'm going to get caught up in the control I can't control. And if something doesn't go my way and I can't control it, well, then it's not my fault that I didn't make the $1 million. So you're getting caught up immediately in the control you can't control with words like want and need. Want and need are codependent words. Instead of I am, I will, I desire. I desire is the same word as need. If you were looking up in a dictionary, they're literally identical. The difference is I desire takes the ownership back. I'm going to desire to own the role, own the control I can control, the things I know and that I can control, those 5 things we mentioned earlier, and let go of the rest. Versus need gets focused on the things we can't control. When we can learn, when we can prepare, we can write down every day. You can use an app, an Excel spreadsheet, a mind map, whatever how you can follow something. You write down every day what you know and can control, and you put that down on paper. So I know I have a daily routine I do every day. I get up at 4 a.m., I meditate, I make my bed, meditate, journal. I work out 4 days a week, resistance training. I do cardio 3 days a week. I do planks every day. I come back, I take a cold shower, I eat a breakfast, a healthy breakfast. I read a chapter or 2 out of a book, and then I review my daily goals. I can write that down for the rest of my life. Every day, 7 days a week. I can write that down because I already know that, and I'm in control of making that happen. Regardless of what's beyond my control, I can find a way to make that happen. There might be certain things I do in my business that I know that I can do on certain days or every day, and I put that down. On weekends, I schedule time to be with my family. I know that, and I can put that down unless one of my family members says, well, I'm not going to be around. Okay, then I can change that. But I can put that, I could schedule a date night with my wife. So that keeps our marriage intact and we communicate in a very interdependent way. So these, by planning, you're now executing through discipline and consistency, the very things from your foundation to move things forward in your business, to start focusing on what you can control. Now,
Chris, can I ask you something? Because when you just laid out how you start your day, the one thing that I've noticed is everyone who has been successful. So we'll just talk about those in business, from your greats to your person next door, but they have their own success. They all have a routine. Yeah. They are very dedicated to that, and it's a non-negotiable routine in their life. So what you just described is placing yourself first so that you're filled, that you're refreshed, and now you can go out and pour into the world.
Absolutely.
But often, many entrepreneurs are trying to be there, do something for everyone else, and they sacrifice that sacred time.
You're not serving them at all. You can't give what you don't have. If you don't fill your cup, how could you fill somebody else's cup? You have to serve yourself in order to serve others. And there's no better gift in helping someone to move forward is through your example and resourcefulness. If you constantly do for people, you're going to please and enable them. And now by enabling them, you keep them stagnant. You become exhausted through frustration because they're draining you and nothing is moving forward. Companies do this all the time and they don't move forward. Families operate this way. Marriages operate this way. It's learning to be interdependent. Own your role and duties, whatever capacity that it is. Be responsible and then also understand other people's role and duties, that kind of where you're working together or working with, work for, where they work for you, your customers. And by doing that, that's going to improve our communication. That's going to improve our responsiveness to situations rather than react. It's going to help us to solve problems and create solutions, to learn from our mistakes, to move forward, and so on. So by being prepared like that, we can now be able to keep moving forward. We can be always one step, if not further, ahead of the curve when there is a challenge. We already know how to address it and move through it and move beyond it, versus now constantly being in reactive mode over and over and over again. So preparation is an ongoing thing. Discipline and consistency, those two things are the two things that will help you to keep, not only be prepared, but to stay prepared and to execute on that preparation each and every day. Now, I don't want to scare people and think, oh God, this sounds like what an Olympian athlete does. Or, I'm not an Olympian athlete. I can't operate that way. It doesn't have to be an Olympian athlete. You can just do this based upon what's important to you. What are you trying to achieve in life? But anything worth striving for is about being your best, not being the best. It's about progress over perfection. But you have to use discipline and consistency with preparation to execute from that foundation that we talked about in order to move forward in your business. So that, and then think of it like a puzzle. You work with the pieces you have right now. Let's say you have a 100-piece puzzle and you're going to complete that puzzle by the end of the quarter. Well, right now I only have 5 pieces. I'm not worried about the 95 I don't even know about. They're out of my control. I'm focused on the 5 and I'm going to maximize them. Maybe tomorrow I'll get another piece. Next week, maybe I'll have 4 more. Maybe at the end of the month, I'll have another 10 more. It's trusting the process from intention. Focus on what you can control and let the results be a byproduct of what you can control only, and trusting the process, what you can't control will do its part to make it happen. You ever notice that when you've been stressed or frustrated and because you were trying to focus on something beyond your control and somehow it worked its way out? And you're like, wow, why did I do that to myself? And then a month later, same thing happens and you do it all over again because we forget. So, but when we can change our thinking, and it requires daily practice, developing a routine, meditation, journaling, making your bed, you got to rewire your thinking. You got to be able to clean the slate, to get rid of the limiting beliefs over time, to clean it out of every cell in your body, because it's energy. It's been stored in your body since you were a child. By removing it, think of it like a hard drive. You're taking everything off that hard drive. You got a clean slate, and now you're going to program it in a better way to serve you, to serve others through your example of resourcefulness. That is the foundation.
You said something, and it was you glossed over it. So I don't know if someone heard, but in your daily routine, you said make my bed.
Yes.
And I know when I was growing up, that was the one thing. It's like the moment your feet hit the floor, you turn around and you make your bed, and it was about us completing something.
Yeah.
But so many people think that is such a minor thing that really is making our bed really going to make a big difference in the course of my day.
Well, you can, if you read the book by James Clear, Atomic Habits, it's right in there. You read the books by Jocko Willett, the ex-Navy SEAL, and all the success he's had. He'll tell you making his bed is the first thing he does in the morning. You talk to any successful person, not just monetarily measured by their wallet and their net worth, but people that you admire that live a successful lifestyle, just how they treat people, how they do things that create impact and value to people, and do things for the good of humanity. They all, for the most part, have a routine, and they're consistent each and every day. I've studied people like this over the years, and then these are things that I've done for myself for 24 years. It was not easy. You're talking to a guy who was born with ADHD. Now you're thinking when I sat down to meditate for the first 9 months, it was the hardest thing I ever did. I couldn't sit still, but I did it anyway. I hated it, but I did it anyway. And then eventually I got into a meditative state. Now that was many years ago. I can get into a meditative state very easily because I've been doing it. I put way more than 10,000 hours into all these different things. With consistency through discipline, you will improve. And when that's serving you, it's going to serve other people. People are going to see that in you. They're going to look at, what can I do for myself? You could help somebody shift out of their codependency into interdependency. The best teams, the best organizations are the ones who operate from interdependency. They operate from a growth mindset through mental toughness, facilitating it, and how they can communicate and connect on shared values. You look at teams like the New England Patriots when Tom Brady was there. Tom Brady was with New England, or with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, same way. Tom Brady was not the most talented quarterback. If he was, he would have been a first-round pick back in 2000. He wasn't. He wasn't physically gifted. He wasn't the most talented quarterback. But what Tom Brady had over any quarterback that ever played the game was clarity. He thought from a growth mindset from day one. He had a daily routine. He was very disciplined and consistent, not only with his well-being, his relationships, but also in the film room studying film. He was interdependent. He communicated very clearly, specific, and concise with his teammates, with his coaches, vice versa. This is why he's a 7-time Super Bowl winner and will go down as the greatest quarterback to play the game. Not because he's the most talented. There were far more talented quarterbacks, talent-wise, than Tom Brady. But this is what won games. And he allowed his team to be interdependent. They created an interdependent culture. Now imagine your business doing that. You can show up and win more games, win more business, raise your retention, lower your onboarding costs. You get more production out of each person now and as a business unit to produce at a higher level. design and distribute quality products and services, and so on. A lot of people hear this and go, yeah, well, whatever. And they keep managing the problem, but they don't realize that an investment in that can be the difference in about 3 to 5 years and where they are and where they're going to be. Zappos, the online shoe retailer, is an ideal example of that. They've been doing that since day one. And it's no coincidence why they're in the top 5 for customer service each and every year. And people have been going back there, not because they got great shoes and great service. It's because they feel like people relate and understand them. It's the values. It's the way of thinking that they feel important. They feel like they understand me more than just that I like these types of shoes. They care. So these are the things of the differences with what we talked about, foundation and preparation. Now, the final step, which I'm happy to talk about, LaWanna, is now how do we measure these things?
Yes, definitely. I definitely want to hear your message on that, because so often that's the piece that's missing.
Yeah.
We don't even forecast what the measure of success will look like. We just hope somehow we magically arrive.
Yes. You'd be surprised that anytime I mention the word KPI to a small business owner, that there will be 7 out of 10 people will say, what is a KPI? They don't even know what it is. So KPI is a key performance indicator. There are many types of key performance indicators. There's standard ones where you can measure like return on investment could be an ideal example. It could be, looking at your collections and production for the quarter in the year. What were your expenses, and then when you deduct that, what's your net operating income? That could be a form of a key performance indicator. So if you're in the hole, then obviously you're spending more than you're bringing in, or you don't have certain processes in place. People aren't trained properly, and they're not producing at a higher level. Those are things that you can measure. But see, here's the thing that a lot of companies do. They have KPIs, but they do it at the organizational level only. They don't drill it down to the team level, to each of the business units. And they don't even go further to put it down to the individual level. See, if you're going to have an effective business, an effective life, effective well-being, all three, we have to be able to measure from the business to the in this case, if it's a family, if it's a community, if it's a business, or breaking it out by team level, and then down to the individual level. And it's customizing your KPIs to track your progress every day, every week. So just like we have the goals listed every day, every week, every month, every quarter, and every year, we can measure to see what's working, what's not. And if things aren't working, we pull back on that. It could be just like marketing. If we're spending more money on Facebook and it's not working, well, maybe we have to shift more to Instagram. But if we keep throwing hey, well, I don't know what's working, I'll just keep throwing money out, and maybe hopefully something will work out. You're going to put yourself into the hole. You're going to put yourself out of business. So measurement is very, very important, and not only on a business standpoint, but personally as well. If you're looking to make progress, to raise your level of energy, to feel good, to become more self-confident, this is going to impact everything we talked about: your communication, your behavior, your attitude, your emotions happening for you, not to you. You're more responsive versus reactive, and you take action. More people that are self-confident will see progress in better measurements over time versus the people that do not. So this is why it's imperative that foundation, preparation, and measurement are ongoing. It never ends. Never ends. Personally, as a business unit, by organization, and then of course it could be by industry if you're operating or involved at that high level. So this is what's really, really important that people can understand. And you don't have to have the same key KPIs as a major corporation. If you're a one-person business or got a small business, you can find the KPIs that align with you. Get some help. You can go to a SCORE group, and a SCORE volunteer can help you. They may not know everything about what we just talked about, and especially the foundation. They're not going to really understand that, but they're going to understand preparation and some measurement they'll be able to help you on. And they can reach out to people that understand this, not only on the business level, but also at a personal level as well. So that is if we come full circle, how we can not only scale our businesses, but sustain that growth and success. So when it's time to exit and sell, you're going to be at your highest valuation that you can get the most money out of your business. Think of it like an annuity. When you retire, that's going to be your annuity. That could be the legacy for your family for years to come, that type of thing. So it's better to start now, not later. And hopefully the information we shared here can, at least provide some awareness and enlightenment to help you to start looking into this further for yourself.
I like what you said, Chris, about it being an ongoing process. And unfortunately, I've been to many small business trainings, and I just want to speak to our viewing audience. All coaches, mentors, consultants are not created equal. I encourage you, please vet, do your homework. When you go into a strategy session and they're telling you things like, oh, just chunk it down and you'll get there, you may want to pause before you move forward, because if you have those measures in place, Chris, and you are committed to measuring, then it can help you to avoid some serious pitfalls. I know we're about to celebrate 16 years with the Bradford Group, and we're on the mortgage side. So, we came through 2007, 2008, but it was because we had our measures, and being a strategist, I think that's what helped us to survive, because we quickly had to say, let's look at where the market's going. Okay, we don't want to go that way. What's still surviving in our world? Now let's make sure we have the capacity in order to serve in this new market, still under the mortgages, but rather than focusing on the residential side, we went to the commercial side. Yeah. But had we tried to just do what everyone else was doing, we would have closed our doors a long time ago.
Yeah, and that's where preparation, a foundation preparation measurement, LaWanna, what you did is it will allow you to kind of see those indicators that there could be a warning coming up. That maybe we have to turn down this road temporarily, or maybe this is the road we have to go down for a while. So yeah, those are again, the companies that follow this type of format are the ones that move through recessions. They come out ahead in recessions. They are the trailblazers in their industry in terms of being innovative and creative and making more impact in why they do what they do. So the question is, as a business owner, do you have a choice? Do you want to just kind of trek along, or do you want to be a difference maker? You want to be a disruptor. You want to be a change maker, and more importantly, be an example and be a resource for others to do that in their business, even if it's a competitor.
Yes. We have a few more minutes, and I want to go back to something that you prefaced when we started. And you mentioned when you're going into business, what's the exit strategy? And so many small business owners have left corporate, they come into entrepreneurship, and they've really created just a job for themselves. So their mindset is still the mindset of an employee. And they're not even thinking about the exit strategy, whether you're selling it, whether you're building legacy that your children are going to take over, that's foreign to them. So can we spend just a little time unpackaging that?
Sure, absolutely. Well, exit strategy is something that unfortunately, a lot of people wait too late to do. And by that time, their business is, not at a point where there's enough time to kind of elevate it and get it to a level. And, I've seen this a lot of times in the dentistry with dentists, and by the time they exit, it's too late. And here they've spent 30 years and they just walk away with nothing, or very little. They sell their charts and, a couple patients that are still hanging in there. It's because they didn't prepare. And a lot of it's just because they don't know. It wasn't important at the time, or they didn't have enough information. But this is like what you do here, LaWanna, with your, the business and financial raw talk is you bring in people like yourself and people like me and others that are sharing this information and, empowering people to get to decide what that means to them. So if I'm recommending an exit strategy, it's better to prepare now. Even if you're in your 20s, your 30s, anything can happen in life. You could have an accident. You might be forced out of a business or an industry because something beyond your control. But if you are caught off guard and you don't have a plan, you're going to be walking away with nothing or very little versus things where if you were prepared, you would have a lot more.
Do you work with small business owners and consult with them on how to develop an exit strategy?
Yes, I work with individuals and businesses. So I work with anywhere from a dental office to a law firm to a CPA firm, right up to a mid-sized corporation, about 2,500 people or less. So I work with CEOs for those types of organizations. I'm a visited speaker, so I get to meet these people all the time. And even the small business owner, even if it's a small business of a few people, same thing. So anytime that if you got a business that's doing a minimum $1 million in annual revenue and up, an exit strategy is going to be very, very important. Now, I'm not saying you can't have an exit strategy if you're doing less than $1 million, but more than likely that business is not going to be marketable or people are interested in if it's not making, that type of money. So I'm not saying that it can't, but more or less what I've been explaining, it's usually for businesses doing $1 million minimum and up where that would be in effect.
And so even though a person may not be at that $1 million mark, they
Mhm.
may be, relatively new in their business journey, it's still important to.
All the other stuff is important, not just for the exit strategy. I'm talking about growing your business and creating a life for yourself, being happy, having peace, finding harmony in your life. I mean, those things are priceless. That's actually the most important thing of anything. You could go to your grave knowing that I lived a fulfilled life of joy and happiness, and I looked forward to the challenges. I embraced the setbacks instead of resist them in the past. So yeah, it changes your whole outlook, and so all these things are just go above and beyond just the exit strategy.
Well, Chris, we have about 5 minutes, and I want to take myself down and just give you a moment to speak directly to our audience. And if there's anything outside of the exit strategy consults that you provide, if you'd like to share that, you're free to do so.
Sure. No, I'd love to. And thank you, LaWanna, for giving me the opportunity to share. So I help, business owners either individually with executive coaching or their businesses or the business overall with all their people to find more a foundation, to develop a structure that they can grow and expand so they can improve their leadership, their communication. They can learn to, become more innovative and take risks and really take their business from where it is to where they desire to go. Now, I can do this personally as well. I can help people to unblock those limiting beliefs that are getting in your way, that are affecting your confidence to do more in your industry, to create more impact, and to do things that will create new income streams for you. So again, that could be individually or in businesses. But when I'm working with businesses, it's all about diagnosing where the bottlenecks and the problems are. It always starts with people, lack of leadership, lack of communication, build that engagement, move away from codependency to an interdependent work environment. Now align that with the systems, processes, their technology, their sales and enablement, or sales and marketing, their sales enablement, and their financials. So those are the 6 cylinders of operating an effective business. So we get those cylinders of business to operate so that engine now is operating at peak efficiency to drive your production and your revenue forward. So those are the things that I could help a business. If you're one person to, 5 people to up to 2,500 people. Those are the areas I do a lot of work in.
I love that. That is so great. Chris, it has been a pleasure again to have you on. It's amazing. See how I've grown, because when you first came on, I was just a Facebook Live show.
Yeah, and look at here, you got the TV show, and it's a high class, top quality in my book.
Thank you. Well, as always, it's a pleasure having your brilliance. And I love how it's a conversation, but yet it's very instructional, informative. And to those who are listening, you've been listening to Christopher Salem, executive coach, trainer, mindset expert. He is amazing. And if you just want to have that introduction, I encourage you, reach out. His contact information is below. Have a conversation. Again, he works with you both on the personal side as well as business. And if you find, especially in these times, that your business is a little stagnant and you want to get it jump started and moving in the right direction, Chris is your man.
LaWanna, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to serve, and I love what you're doing here with your show.
Thank you so much. And to our listening audience, thank you for joining us again for another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. I am LaWanna Bradford, and just remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Until next week, goodbye, everyone. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.